Hello, I'm Michael, and today we're going to talk about last words. Specifically, Charles Manson's last words. We have a conversation that's 2 minutes long. The last known conversation that he ever had on recording. If you Google Charles Manson and the last words, it comes up with some gibberish like, it almost is what the words that Susan Atkins told to Sharon Tate before she killed her turn out to be Manson's last words? I don't think so. What are last words anyway? Last words. If you Google Paul Walker, the guy that was in the Fast and the Furious, his last words were, "I'll be back in 5 minutes." Well, that probably was his last words to somebody. I'm sure he told somebody. I'm sure he told a lot of people, "I'll be back in 5 minutes." Now, a lot of people were like, "Whoa, his last words were, I'll be back in 5 minutes." But the guy he was in the car with, he probably said something to him. Even if he didn't say nothing to him the whole time, they just sat there and took a car ride. When they were about ready to crash, I'm sure he said, "Oh shit," or "watch out," or something. So, last words are kind of, it's a perception on who they were told to and who heard them. And I have the last words that I think ever that were recorded by Charles Manson. I was Charles Manson's friend for about 25 years. He called me, probably started in '94, and he ended up calling me the last time in 2017. 23 days before he was picked up to go to the hospital, 29 days before he died. I wrote him a letter before that because he had been in the hospital prior to that, the end of 2016 into 2017. He had gotten out of the hospital and he went back into the prison. I heard from him a couple times. I heard him in March, and then I heard from him in about June. And I hadn't heard from him again since then. I was kind of wondering about his health. So I wrote him a small short letter, asking him how he was, and he responded with this telephone call. When it comes to some other people's last words, it boils down to when the last time that we seen them on film, or the last recorded message that we had from those people. And it happens to be that the History Channel had a documentary at the end of 2017 in December. It pretty much had the last words of Barbara Hoyt, Aesop Aquarian, or Aesop Aquarius, however you say that guy's name. You also call him Mark Ross, and they called him about 12 other names. Or he went by like 12 other names. But that was pretty much the last words of those people as well. That's the last time you'll ever hear him talking about this case ever again. And Mark Ross claimed that he was never going to talk about it. And then he talked about it in his last words, basically recorded on film. And in that film was also this. They caught the last words of me talking to Charles Manson in that film as well. So there was 3 parts in that where you heard the people's last words. And this was it. This was Manson's last words to me, the last thing I ever heard him say.
Thank you for using Global Tailgate.
Hello?
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm the same.
What's that?
I'm the same person. I'm the same person that I was when you left the visiting room. I don't think you need my help. You're self-referred, conferred, and referred back to yourself. You are me as much as I am. I like you, and I've always liked you, but I don't have time for it. So I cut the people that are closest to me loose so that I can improve my situation, not do the same thing every day. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Have faith in me as much as you do yourself. Always here. I'll always be with you as much as I and with myself.
They once said John Lennon's last words were, "I've been shot, I'm shot." But later, there was a guy who came out and said that he leaned down over John and he says, "You're John Lennon." And John looked up at him. Yes. So, yes could have very well been John Lennon's last words. That's the complexity of the whole thing of last words. But anyway, that was the last words of Charles Manson that I think was ever recorded. The last time that he was on recording was that right there, 23 days before they took him away to the hospital, and 29 days before it was his last day on earth. So last words. What will your last words be? And who will you say them to? We just never know. Like Paul said, "I'll be back in 5 minutes." Wow. When the people look back on that, who he said that to, it's got to be horrifying. It was said that Abigail Folger's last words were, "Why are you doing this to me? I'm already dead." That's what Pat said in court. Those got to be horrifying to Pat as well. Each and every day. The last words can be questionable on if they were really your last words. Because we know that wasn't the last thing that Manson ever said. He still was 23 more days in the prison. He had to tell somebody, "Take me to prison," but that was the last thing that he ever said to me. And again, I think the last recording that was ever made of him. What will your last words be? Wonder who you'll say them to. Hopefully it won't be for a long time. Again, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this and you watched all the way up to the end, oh, thank you so much for that. And thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. If you enjoyed that video, or you just like watching a bunch of Manson videos, check out the video over here, or some of the ones I have on the page. Everything covers the same subject material, all different ways. If you'd like to support us at any time, hit the yellow button. We'll be having these on the website soon. You can buy them there. If you're a Patreon member, I'm giving this one away to somebody free on there. And until next time, peace. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.